Welcome to Energising Life with AKR Fitness. I'm Jase, I'm back in the hosting seat. We've got Mike.
Hello.
Hello. And Lynsey.
Hello.
Mike likes it when I go to him first. He gets all...
Caught me off guard there.
I thought you were coming to me there.
Oh, well, hey, I like to keep you both on your toes. That's the game. Episode 3. Episode 2 was a whirlwind. That's,
Some good stuff.
you recovered?
Just
About. That was a brilliant episode. If you haven't listened to it, please head back and listen to Patrick's story, which is inspiring. I was in the background for the filming. I had to step out at one point. I was like, catching me in the feelings. So yeah, it was good. This season we're talking difficulties and troubleshooting. And today we're going to dive in a little bit more on fitting exercise in, right?
Right.
right.
So, what's the biggest problem, Mike?
Yeah, well, I think we just wanted to touch this idea that life can feel overwhelming as it is. Sometimes I think sometimes exercise can feel like just another thing for the to-do list. You know, people have got their work, their home, their kids, their finances, their everything they're trying to take care of.
Just one more thing
and it's one more layer of stress. And so we just wanted to, I guess, have a chat about, you know, how to make time for it, why to make time for it, fitting things in, and ultimately living a life that you want to live on your terms. Is that the end?
Lynsey shook.
No, I'm just listening.
I think, listen, like, I like this saying, and again, it's one of these, it might be a little bit trite, but you can do anything, but you can't do everything, right? So you have to pick, and hopefully we can share some things that'll help people with this. But one story that really brought this to life for me was, again, it's a travel story, but when I was traveling, you know, there's only so much, even though I was traveling about just over 7 months, there is still only so much you can do, and you might only spend a few days or a week in a particular city. And I remember this moment where I was in Peru, and I was probably 2.5 months into my travels, and I'd done so much stuff. There was this 1 month I had in Argentina where I went like skydiving and whitewater rafting, and I did horse riding, and I did all these things, and it was hot weather, and I'd done so much. I was getting a bit burned out a little bit, and I remember getting to Peru, and there's a couple of memories, but in this one particular city called Arequipa, I found myself wandering around this monastery place and just thinking to myself, why am I here? Like I'd paid to get in because no, sorry, it wasn't like I wasn't contemplating my life. I was literally,
why am I here?
I was literally thinking, why have I paid to get into this particular place? And you know, you can read in the travel guidebooks or blogs or online, or maybe other people you've met, and people, you have to go to this place, or you have to go to that place. And that was a moment of thinking, like, sure, it's nice, and sometimes you got to roll the dice a little bit. But I was like, I'm not all that interested in this here. And then from there, that's kind of towards the south in Peru, and I went further north and got to Lima, which is a capital city. I was not going to spend a large amount of time there. But I remember just thinking, this church, this or this ruins, that is a must-see. You've got to go. And I was like, I'm not doing it. I'm not going. Nah. You know, and I began to like look for a place where I could just chill. And so that was, I think, my next couple of trips up from Lima. I found myself in this beach town called Huanchaco where there was nothing basically. And I just chilled because I got to a stage where like, I can't do everything, and I don't even want to do everything. And I think it makes for a good sort of metaphor of like, there are so many different paths you can take in life. There are so many different things you can put your attention, your focus, your effort, your time, your money. Not all of them are going to give back the same, and it's up for you to decide, you know, is the monastery the thing you want to go to, or is you going to go climb a volcano or whatever the real life equivalents are of these things. But so that's like that. That's a conversation we kind of want to dive into a little bit.
I think just with talking to many members that they've got so much going on in their lives and they will have a heightened focus of one part. So say it's family or it's career or it's health and fitness. You're not going to manage to have a clear focus on all of those things at the same time if it becomes overwhelming. So like a lot of people might just take their focus on family for a while, or they'll focus on health and fitness or career. But it's then trying to get them to understand that we need to find more of a balance in it rather than going all or nothing on all of these. Maybe there's a place that they can all fit, but you need to work at it.
Yeah, and I think there's the same time acknowledging like the feeling of balance can be nice, but the reality of life is sometimes you need to go all in on your work or all in on a different aspect of your life. Maybe you've just given birth to kids. It's like, well, that's going to be your everything for
Forever.
20 years.
You've got a nice quote to summarise that.
Yeah, it's not my quote, but yeah, like I love the line. It's like things that matter most must never be at the mercy of things that matter least. And I think the key point is it's up to you to decide what matters most to you. I think that's the key thing. I think when we try and do everything like I did in Peru, you end up burning out.
It's definitely like an independence thing, is it? Like being proactive with what you want to do and not taking what you should be doing. Like it's your life, so you got to take like responsibility for it and the direction you want to go in. That's, I think, making task number one the most important, whatever one that is in your life at the time.
Yeah, I think it's very much about deciding what you want from your life and what you want your life to look like. And it's something I've done for a long time, like in previous jobs or first job out of uni, deciding like, actually, I quite like working with people here, but I don't like this other aspect of it. And then so there's a next job that had a bit more of what I liked and a little bit. But it's ultimately like deciding, like trying to live, like we spoke with Patrick, being deliberate. He spoke about how the MS, I think it was the words he used, he brought things into focus a lot more, where you're now thinking ahead and going, do I want to be working until I'm 65, or is there something I can do to change the course of that I'm going on
Today, kind of thing.
Yes, yeah.
I think back in season 1, when I think maybe the first episode, I had this phrase, and I think it said something along the lines of, I don't believe in serendipity. And what I actually mean by that is I don't think serendipity is a strategy. I don't think things happen by chance, and I don't think things should happen by chance. I think you need to go out and put yourself into opportunities and seek out the things and the values in your life that you want to achieve. You're not a lottery ticket is one of my all-time favourite things that sits in the back of my head. You're not a lottery ticket. So just go out and, if you want something, go and try and, I know it sounds very TV advert, but, if you want something, go and get that thing. Work towards it. If you aim at nothing, you get nothing.
Yeah, well, that's a line I like of plans don't work, but planning does. Yeah. So you're, again, borrowed from a fitness industry sort of colleague of mine, but he'll say, sure, just because you plan out like exactly what you want your life to look like doesn't mean it's going to happen, but it's highly unlikely that it's going to happen by accident.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key thing. And again, going back to Patrick, well, you don't know when you're, the next day you might get something comes along that totally changes your game. But he said he can still plan for his wedding to happen in November of next year, or you can still make the plans.
Yeah. So going back a little bit, what are some of the things that matter most that we can? What are some examples of those?
Well, I think it's up to someone to decide, and I think my impression, and again, I want to be careful because I don't want to speak for everybody. My impression is that a lot of people are so busy living the day-to-day of their life that they don't take the time to sort of plan, sharpen the sword is the term. I think there's an old
the proverb of, if I had to chop down a tree, I'd spend the first hour sharpening the sword. Or
if I had 10 hours, something. If I had 10 hours to cut down a tree.
Absolutely.
You get the idea. They'll get the idea.
Yeah, so people are too busy chopping down the tree, where actually let's take a moment to pause, sharpen up the sword, and make a better job of chopping down the tree. And I think that's for everybody as individuals to decide what matters most to them and what do they want their life to look like.
And then it's of course putting what they want their life to look like and the actions behind it together. So you don't want, like, you know, if you want to run a marathon but you do no running training, or you don't, it's that you're never going to combine those together.
Yeah, because once you know what you want, and I'm not saying everyone needs to have a 5 or 10 or 30-year plan or whatever, but if you've got an idea of what you want your life to be, then you can begin to start prioritizing your time.
Aligning intentions and actions together.
Yeah, and because if you don't fill your day or your life with high priority actions, as in high priority to you, then somebody else, or it's automatically going to fill up with low priority actions. Give an example, like when you get up in the morning and you've got a plan for your day and you like chalk off the activity, chalk off the next, or take a weekend. Who's done this where you're like, oh, what are you up to this weekend? Nothing. Can't wait. Looking forward to having nothing. And actually, you get up and you're like, the day just sort of drifts.
It's so funny you say that.
It fills up with low priority crap.
I had an absolute meltdown the other weekend because I'd been so, like, with life opening up after COVID, been so busy with having plans made, like, you need to be here at that time, you need to be doing this, we're getting picked up. Okay, right, great. And I love being busy. And then just a weekend passed, I was sitting there, I got up, no alarm, and I was like, honestly, I could not settle. I was like, no, I need to do something. But because nothing was planned, I was getting frustrated and I could not stand it. But then I knew that I needed to have a little bit more of sort of downtime in R&R. But then I thought I should have planned this better.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I struggle with planning the unplanned times. Do you know what I mean?
The irony.
You got to plan the rest and the nothing. You got to plan to do nothing. I don't know.
See, before though, that would have not bothered me, but I think through lockdown, I really delved into, you know, making a to-do list, ticking it off, making a list for the next day, because it was the only thing that was getting me through the days to see that I was achieving something. So since then, and doing that, I cannot handle not having a plan on a weekend. Even if it's the plan to do nothing, it needs to be written down somewhere.
But you know, the other thing is, when you plan and prioritize what's most important to you, it's far easier to then say no to the things that aren't so important. So you've got that weekend where, like, yes, I can't wait to do nothing, but actually you've not planned to do nothing. If you get me, you've not come up with a plan, and then someone goes, "You doing anything this weekend? You fancy coming out for a pint, or you fancy whatever it is?" You're then going to get drawn into their priority, not your own. And you know, you had an example of someone we've worked with who their whole 2 weeks off works like that.
Yeah. So they've always said, "Can't wait from a holiday. I've got 2 weeks off, and I've got all these plans." So she said she's looking forward to having a holiday away from planning and routine, but she's made all these plans because she said yes to every single thing that's come her way. And then by the end of the holiday, she feels like she needs another holiday because
she's done nothing for her.
She's done nothing for her. She's not prioritised her time. She's prioritised seeing other people.
Because her plans weren't her plans. Her plans were other people's plans.
Yeah.
So someone's gone, "Oh, you're off work. Let's meet for a coffee. Or let's do this. Let's do this." So the whole, it's like this whole idea in a microcosm, if you will, where you've got that 2 week holiday. Instead of living by your own priority, you've lived by everybody else's, and by the end of it, you've gone,
Have I even had a holiday?
That wasn't what I wanted.
No.
And I think, like, you could extrapolate that to a whole life. And it sounds selfish, but it's not, because it's your life, and actually you're going to be a better human and show up for other people better if you live by your priorities. I think, like, didn't we speak in one of the other episodes about, like, let's say kid goes off to uni and what's really most important to them is art, but their parents force them to do law or something.
Yeah.
Like, they're always going to have this little thing where that wasn't their thing.
It's what are some sort of tips that you can give to guide people more into that sense of thought?
For me, I think people just taking a bit of time to consider what they value, what's most important to them. I think that's a key thing, and it shouldn't take an MS diagnosis like Patrick to start going, actually, I'm going to have to, can we not all make a decision? Or not make it, that's not what I want to say, like not make a decision, but like take a time and just start thinking about what we want our life to look like.
And I'm not speaking for everybody, but I think, well, me included, find that really difficult, just to pause and think about what I value, what I want from life, what I want it to look like. I think people struggle with that.
What do you think that is?
Probably because I don't want to think too far into the future, but then I know that I need to, in some sort of, like, I need to know where I'm going.
Probably a fine line.
There is a very fine line.
I think that's totally okay.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I think it's totally okay. I love the analogy of you're driving your car at night and you can only see as far as the headlights will shine, but you can make the whole journey that way. So I think it's okay. Like, I know it's going to sound like a contradiction, but you know what's important to you on a day-to-day basis. You might not have it all figured out in 10 years I want to do this. And I'm not sure that's what we're saying, but right, this is what matters most to me in order for me to feel good on a day-to-day basis. That's different from having your life written out, all the answers. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things I wanted to touch on, obviously, like we're talking about health and fitness. So I want to reinforce this idea. So we're juggling all these balls of life, and this is again an analogy I've stolen from someone else. I think it might be.
We're going to change the name of this podcast. It's the Analogy Show.
I think it's possibly from the book The One Thing by Gary Keller. It might not be, but anyway, that's an all right book. So
That's a good book.
You've got all these balls that you're juggling in life, and there's maybe a ball that represents your career, maybe one represents your family, maybe one represents your hobby, maybe one's your social circle or whatever, and you've got one for health as well. And it's difficult because you've got to juggle all of these balls. But what he said was that the ball that represents your health and fitness, is made of glass. So that's the one you don't want to drop. Like some of the other ones, you maybe don't speak to one of your pals for a couple of months, that ball can bounce and you can pick it up again. Mm-hmm. But when you let go of your health for too long, you could probably go a couple of months to be fair, but when you drop that ball for too long, it's difficult. So that's...
They'll all start to drop, probably.
Well, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was... Yeah.
Well, listen, that's what
That was brilliant, Lynsey. So, like... juggling the ball, like you don't have to juggle all of them though. You can put one down and
well,
it depends what's important.
I think so. I think you're going to go through phases in your life where like you've just don't have so much of a choice that you've got to just put more focus into your like I said, you've maybe just started a family or you've maybe just started a business. Mm-hmm. Like you just got to pour everything into that. Having said that, like in my example, that was one of the things. Since opening AKR, I was determined not, and I know a lot of like the irony is there's a lot of gym owners or personal trainers that as they're building up, their own health and fitness suffers because they don't get their workouts in. But that was one thing I made sure like not to drop, because it's just the power of exercise. Like even what Patrick spoke last week for his MS, but it's one of those things that you get back. The time you give to exercise, you get back far more. I get more than an hour's worth out of an hour's workout, if that makes sense.
It's a good investment to make.
Yeah, and that's the word, isn't it? It's an investment. Mm-hmm. So even the if people are spending more on healthier eating habits or hiring a coach or buying home gym equipment if they use it, like it's all. But it is all an investment because what you get back is far more powerful than, you get back double what you put in or more than what you put in.
But even things like hiring a coach, you're actually delegating that out and letting it be someone else's problem or someone else's priority for you, that you just need to turn up to it now.
Yeah, and I think that's another important piece. If you know what's the best or most important use of your time and energy and attention and focus, then by default, like your life's going to be better if you spend more time
doing those things
in the areas that are more important to you. Mm-hmm. Like, let's say, I don't know,
I've got an example.
You got an example?
Yeah,
Go for
me,
it. Go for it.
So moving into a new flat, bit of garden, I'm thinking, yes, I'm going to become a gardener. It's going to be easy. I'm going to have all the time in the world. That was through winter. It looked beautiful come spring, and then hit maybe May. I'm like, oh, that's a weed. That's another weed. That's another weed. And I'm thinking, I don't have the time or effort or want right now to prioritize gardening. Do you know what I mean? I need to get somebody in to help me here. And I think that's an example of that in your life. Like, I think my time and effort's better put somewhere else than weeding.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So that's not a priority task for me, but I did think it was going to be, but it's just far too much effort. So I'm going to delegate that to somebody else so they do it for me.
Yeah, and so there's a cost. If you were to hire a gardener, there's a cost, but the benefit is in your life, because now you've got and of course you need to have the money in order to pay for the garden or whatever, but now you can spend that 3 hours on a Saturday afternoon doing something that's more likely
not weeding
to benefit your life.
Towards my values and what I want from it, rather than
and
maybe one day I will be the gardener, but right now it's too much.
But if someone did that in a work setting and could spend more hours doing the stuff they were more effective at and delegate the other parts, they could probably develop their career further, make more money doing that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So delegating in that way doesn't always need to be a cost. And especially like what Jay said about hiring a coach. Well, now you don't need to think about what you're doing in the gym if you're doing it effectively.
Yeah.
You just show up.
Turn up.
You just show up. And so you freed up that mental space, that angst. You're probably going to get better results faster, stay on track longer. So it's back to that word. It's an investment.
Yeah. So what are some values to you that you sort of make sure you get in weekly, for example?
What, to keep life going forward?
Yeah, to keep your life taking over and to make sure you're heading in the direction that you want to be heading. Is there things that you do?
Listen, we're of course we're totally biased, but for me, energy is everything, right? So if I don't get my workouts in, if I don't feel good physically, I'm not going to feel good mentally. My relationships aren't going to be as good. I'm not going to be as productive at work. It's all that, it's like that episode we had before. Yeah. So I can't let that ball go. That's why even when I opened the gym, that was the most important thing for me. And I accept that that's not the case for it. I don't have kids. I don't have, my career is in this industry.
Yeah.
So other people have other things going on. So I don't expect that to be number one on everybody's list, but it is for me.
So what do you do to make sure that that's a priority in your day? Do you plan it in? Do you put it on a calendar? How do you focus on that?
Yes, I do that. I think here's maybe a more interesting answer is that your day, let's look at it the other way around. How you show up in your day will demonstrate to you what you value most. So where are you most disciplined with your time? What do you talk about most? Where do you spend your money? Where do you spend your energy? All of that will tell you what you value most. What do you fill your space with? Like at home, do you have pictures of holidays all in your house, pictures of family, books, or you spend all your money on learning and courses, or you spend your money on fashion or meetings, social meeting with friends and things like that. So you can, to flip that the other way around, you can say, well, what do I value most? Okay, well, where do I spend my time? Where do I spend my money? How do I fill my space? What do I think about most? What do I speak externally and internally to myself about most? And that will demonstrate to you what you value most, which could be then, okay, so therefore, how do I want to set up my life so that I can live more in those things that I value most?
Yeah.
I think, just to sort of reinforce, I think what I was saying before, that a lot of people find it hard to delve into that. They don't know where to start, but I think that's a really good example of flipping it and being okay, what do I fill my days with? That's what I value.
Yeah.
And I think if you can start there, then you can start to delve a little bit deeper on that.
Yeah. What energizes you? Where, again, here's a good one. What are you spontaneously inclined to do? So here's something that you don't ever have to motivate me to do, is go and watch Man United. If there's a game on, I don't go, geez, I better.
Just because they got Ronaldo now.
I don't need to hire a coach to instruct me to go and watch the game. I don't need to psych myself up to do it. I'll just go and do it. Now, obviously, like that's not going to make me money or help my health or stuff like that. It's something I enjoy doing, but it's an example that I'm just going to do it. So similarly, where are you most energized and disciplined and structured and organized with your time? Probably suggests that's something that's quite high on your values. So I was just going to add then. So then, if we're talking about how do I fit exercise and health and fitness in my life, well, to me that's like, it's one of the analogies we shared before. It's almost like a cheat code, right? Because if I can square away the health and fitness stuff, it makes everything easier. It makes everything better. It's like it's like a turbo boost, right? So because if I'm fit and healthy, then everything's better. So if my highest value was something that's unrelated to that, it's like, okay, well, how does fitting in a workout, looking after my health and fitness, how does that help what's truly most important to me? So if my highest value is growing my career and being disciplined and productive at work, how's getting my workout in? How's counterintuitively taking an hour out of my workday to train? How is that going to help my work, if that's the most valuable thing? And if you try to write down 100 answers to that question, then all of a sudden you might be like, I need to get this workout in. Because it's don't see it as a hobby. Don't see your workout as, oh, here's something for me to do in my spare time, but see it as, actually, this is a key part of my job so that I'm better at my job. And you could probably say that for parenting. You could probably say that for everything. It's like, okay, my highest value is the kids. Again, I always feel a bit weird speaking about this because I don't have kids. I don't really know what it's like. But if that's what your highest value is, it's okay, well, how is getting my workout in benefiting parenting or kids and
it's connecting it on a different level rather than just being, I've got to go to the gym today. Well, actually, how about you align it with your values and what's important to you, and then it will just become part of your life. And you will fit it in because you have to, because of that reason.
Yeah, it's linking what you quote unquote need to do with what's most important to you. And if you make that link, then all of a sudden your workout is more important than it was before. But again, sometimes when I talk about this stuff, I don't want to sound like, I think we said in the motivation stuff, it's not like here's the missing link, get this, and it's not like we're all perfect, living the dream all the time. But I think definitely there's something there. Like figure out what's most important to you, recognize that health and fitness is like a universal energizer, a boost for all of it. And then how do you link that to the thing that's most important to you?
Right. I want to move on a little bit and talk a little bit about focus and how people can focus their attention, their time, and to keep themselves moving forward. Mike, you got anything for us on that?
I don't know where to start.
From the top.
I think the first thing, here's something that I think might actually be an original thought of mine, okay, and maybe not borrowed from someone else. So,
oh my God.
So I'm taking credit for this one. Clarity and calendar beat mindset and motivation.
Say it again.
Clarity and calendar beat mindset and motivation.
And then I'll just burst your bubble and say every thought has always been had.
It's been had. But it's not just one I'm quoting from a book, okay? So I'm taking this one as mine. So, and let me explain it. I've had, I don't know, there's so much time that I've spent or people can spend trying to get the right mental state, try to get their mind right, their motivation right, and things like that. And ultimately, what I find most helpful is just to be super clear on what the next step is for me, and the calendar part is when I'm going to do it. So many calls, like I've maybe chatted with mentors in my business, and the most helpful thing is usually when it's like, oh, you don't need to worry about all that stuff, just do this. Here's the next step. And it might not be that person telling me what the next step is, but they might help me gain clarity on it. So I think, again, if going back to bigger picture stuff, if you know that you want to have your mortgage paid off by a certain age, then there's a bit of clarity and you can chunk that down into, okay, so what do I need to do in the next 5 years, or in the next 1 year, or the next week, or today when I get up, what's the most important step for me to take? I think having the clarity is far more powerful than just getting your mind right.
I guess we can link that back to you doing your workouts every day, because I can't imagine you're motivated and excited to do your workout every single time. But because you've got it on the calendar and you're clear on what you're doing, it gets done.
Well, that's brilliant, because what's easier to do? Right, I go to the gym Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and when I go on Monday, there's my workout written down.
Chest.
I'm going to do
Drop sets.
but there's my workout. And you just know exactly when you're going and what you're going to do. Or I should go to the gym this week. And then when you go to the gym, you walk in, you've got no idea what you're far less likely to go. Mm-hmm. And then add into the sort of reason of why you're going, and then there's another level of clarity behind that. So yeah, if you know how many of our members come in and they're like, do you know what, a massive difference for me is just how I've got the session booked in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's calendar. And you know what the clarity is? They don't even need some. All they need to focus on is getting through the door, because the coach tells them exactly what to do.
Yeah.
And it's so powerful, far more than the motivation stuff. So yeah, that's the focus piece or part of it.
For me, again, going back to just before lockdown, I think I never actually used a calendar. I never had notes. I never did anything like that. So that's me being completely honest. All I was clear on is that I come to work, I work hard, I study, and I would fit that in throughout the day. But then again, lockdown came, I had no role, I had no place, it felt like. So then I introduced a calendar, and then all of a sudden my productivity level was increased. I was doing more, learning more, but still the same hours in the day. Mm. So for me, the calendar was a game changer on what I was clear on for the week.
So going back then, so you didn't do calendars, you didn't have notes and things. Why do you think that was, and what made the change over?
I just never thought that I needed it. I just thought, I'm doing all right here.
Yeah.
I'm getting what I needed in the day, like probably bare minimum, learning a little bit, working out, still getting my downtime. And the change came because I felt like my day wasn't full anymore, and I needed to have a clarity on what I was doing every day, or it just went to shit, basically. Excuse my language.
So that nails the point, though, because the more deliberate you are living, then the more you need the plan and the calendar. So let's say there's an Olympic athlete that's like 4 years from now, I need to run or do this event or whatever.
Five if you include last year.
5. So they need a clear plan, mm-hmm. because here's where they're trying to get to. Here's all the steps they want to take, mm-hmm. and they probably need a training calendar and a long-term plan with periodization and everything. And every day has a role to play.
Yeah.
Take that with someone else who's just drifting and has no goal. Well, then they don't need any calendar, mm-hmm. because it doesn't matter what they do today. Do you know what's that other line about, like if you don't have a target, you hit it every time or something like that? Something like that. And so that's,
you aim at nothing, you hit.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So it's just knowing where you want to go. Mm-hmm. I remember like working in a gym, cleaning treadmills, and thinking,
nope,
I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this forever. Mm-hmm. So therefore, I have to take some steps. And what does that look like, and how do I plan it out?
Obviously, it's not all plain sailing and as easy as we're making it sound. There is moods and emotions and life, of course, that gets into it. Have you had any experiences with those, Mike?
Yes, I have.
All right, moving on.
I think, do you know what, part of that is accepting that it's normal, trying to distance, and again, wary, catching myself speaking about this as if like I'm some sort of expert, because you could easily listen and think, geez, he must have such a planned and regimented and whatever, but like, no, I'm human like everybody else. I burn out, I crash out, I waste time. I take too long before I have a break, and then I spend a week in the doldrums because I'm struggling. But it's recognizing it's recognizing the surface nature of emotions and the transient nature of emotions. So I've had days where I've got up and in the early part of the day thinking, oh, I'm dying I don't know how I'm going to get through this day. And then maybe 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm buzzing. And I'm thinking, how did that energy shift happen? How did that change of emotion happen? But they're passing. I like to liken emotion to the ocean, which is an easy one to remember because
a Mike McDonald original.
Because it's waves.
Yeah.
But actually what's happening on the surface, the waves are always going to come and go. They're not going to last forever. And what happens on the surface probably does affect the depths, but not in the same manner. Do you know, even if you've ever been swimming in the ocean where there's waves and you're getting knocked about in the surface, if you just dive a couple of meters down, you find calm. And so if you can imagine that on the surface you've got moods and emotion and ups and downs, it doesn't necessarily need to dictate what's most important to you that day of, right, okay, well, I'm going to go for my walk or do my thing.
Ride the wave.
Right, well, I love that.
Ride the wave. Surf the
What
wave.
was the first two emotions you mentioned? Transient and...
What did I say?
Begin with F, did it?
Surface, I think it
Surface.
was surface, as in it's they're just on this,
Yeah.
they don't
They'll
necessarily
pass.
affect the depths.
Kind of wash
Yeah.
over. Lynsey, you got any emotional tales?
That's
woes?
enough of that. No, I think the same as Mike. I think you need to sit with the emotion. You need, like Mike said, ride the wave. Be at one with it if you like, but don't allow it to take over. Like, just admire that it's there. Yeah, okay. Then move on.
I think you've got to accept them. Like,
Yeah,
you go back to
definitely.
Patrick.
Yeah.
He got diagnosed with MS. There's a
yeah.
journey he has to go through. And even me last year with the COVID thing. So when COVID first hit, I was energized. I was hyper. I was doing things. I was motivated. I was like attack mode. Here I go. And there was a part of me that was a bit disappointed at things on my calendar that I'd lost, trips that were be planned and things like that. And not to mention the gym closed. But I was like, do you know what? Everybody's lost something. Who cares? Let's get on with it. Let's go. And after a while, I got burned out. And I thought, I think I'm going to have to sit and try and like acknowledge some of my feelings of loss here and sit with some of the emotions. So we're not saying like it doesn't matter. And I think you've got to feel it. But, you know, Patrick's just sat and said, I got this diagnosis. I had to go through all this stuff. But actually right now I feel like this.
I was relieved.
And yeah, I'm probably going to feel something else down the line. But no feeling lasts forever. I think that's the bit about it being transient, you know, they come and go, and if we can accept that, do you know what, I feel pretty terrible today, but maybe tomorrow I won't.
Yeah.
It's coping with the ups and downs and still having your priority of what you want going forward.
That's the thing. That's the piece. It's not letting the emotion pull you too far off of that most important thing to you.
Giving up what you want now for what you want most.
Yeah, or giving up what you want most because of a feeling that's going to last 24 hours or maybe a whole week or whatever.
Just keep the goal with the goal.
The goal is to keep the goal the goal. I think that's a Dan John one.
It is
Not a Mike McDonald.
It's not. No, I'm not claiming that one.
Keep the goal the goal. We spoke actually quite a little bit about time and obviously time management. I think we're going to get into that a little bit deeper in another episode, will we?
Yeah, a couple of weeks' time.
A couple of weeks' time.
Look out for that one. So I guess this episode is just more about like let's live deliberately. Let's live on purpose. Let's decide what's most important to us and try and organize a life
full of intention. And
to do that. And if we can, delegate the things that are less important, and that's probably going to be a more happier and productive way to live. But in a couple of weeks, we'll dive a bit more into actual time management strategies.
Brilliant. That was a great summary.
Yeah.
Saved me a job there. Anything you wanted to add in?
No,
Anything?
I'm good with that.
I think we're good.
Yeah.
Good. All right, folks. Thank you so much for listening. If you've enjoyed this podcast, you know what to do. Like, share, review. We only take 5-star ratings, I believe. Is that right?
Any review would be a pleasure to receive.
Pleasure. And again, if you've got questions for us that you want us to answer in a future podcast, it is
podcast@akrfitness.com.
If you do share on social medias, Lynsey.
Energising Life podcast.
#.
No, he needs a hashtag.
And that's it from us. We'll catch you in the next one.